Welcome back to Making Men. This is the 1-year anniversary. Actually, last month was the 1-year anniversary of me posting on this podcast consistently every single week. In that year, I posted one episode late and missed 1 week of episodes. That's it, the entire year. And so, without further ado, I bring you this week's edition of Making Men, the podcast where I have some things to figure out for myself, because it has been a very, very long journey over these past 4 years that I have had this podcast and that I have had this journey into the entrepreneur world, so to speak, in a way that has been different from my peers, in a way that has been different from the status quo and the people around me. The area that I live in, you have very specific sets of jobs, very specific skills and trades. Of course, that's how it works everywhere. It's been a long time since I started this journey. I began this back in August. This podcast I started in August of 2020. So August of this year will be 4 years of having this podcast. And summertime of this year, which is just around the bend, will be 4 full years of me doing online work and me learning how to do online work and learning the skill sets that I've been acquiring over these past 4 years. It's a journey of accumulation and of skill. And today we are talking exactly about that. What it means to take your time. Taking your time is a skill set that I had to develop that has been very, very important for myself as I have had to do hard work, as I have had to do repeated things over and over. In the past, when I started the episodes, when I started the podcast, I wanted it to be a documentation of my own journey, and I had things that I wanted to share with my audience at the time who I thought I was talking to, these young guys. I was seeing these areas where I wished they were able to connect with me, and they weren't. And so I wanted to be able to bring things to them and say, hey, like, these are important things to think about, important things to learn. I come from, still am part of a special needs family. And so I've had a very different experience than the people that I've been surrounded by in my life. And it's really cool, too, to start meeting. You guys remember Josh Beach a couple episodes ago. He is also part of a special needs family. And so in doing this, I have met more people like me. And that has been an amazing experience to know, hey, I'm not completely alone in this. I used to feel like that. I was the only person like me that I knew. I only could find other people if I left this location, like literally just like left and went out to go find these people, because they do exist. They are actually a large part of the population. This isn't the point of today's episode, but this gives you opportunities. And learning this skill has been a soft skill. You guys know my difference between hard skills and soft skills. Hard skills are the skills that you develop, the actual things you do with your hands, and soft skills are internal things you can't really touch, but you're good at. Communication is a soft skill. Sales is a mix. Communicating is soft. Sales is more hard. And that's actually a terrible example too, because if you don't know sales, then you don't. Yeah, never mind. Anyways, I've spent a total of time over the past 4 years. I've spent 1.75 of those years, roughly, I'm estimating, not on social media, not online. My online world over the past 4 years, 1.75 of that has been offline. And that's because I haven't taken that time to be posting and creating content and doing all these things that you see these other people doing. Because before they do that, I was doing and am doing the exact same thing they were doing, which is not posting content about how cool they are. It was actually doing the work that made them somewhat cool people. So, like, Alex Hormozy is an amazing example of this. He did a ton of stuff before he got online. Most people, if they are good at stuff, if they're good at something, if they're actually genuinely teaching something, they did not start by making content. They started doing something else, and making content is the reward that you get when you've already done something. What do I know? My experience, I already have a certification from the Institutes of the Achievement for the the Institutes for the Achievement of Human Potential. I'm already certified there. You know, I've had plenty of things to do in my life before I ever had content creation. I've always loved creating though. So, not my point. None of that is my point, but it all lays a groundwork. A nice, let's get into this with that in mind. I've spent those 1.75 years offline. No posting, building, social, growing, any of that kind of stuff. And quite frankly, I don't enjoy doing any of those things. It's just, it feels gross to me. Not the posting, but the social media side of things. The creating of this podcast, I do enjoy. I love this podcast. I love this form and this medium of content creation. YouTube is the same. But I don't like short form content. It feels yucky to me. I'm just looking at my list of notes here because I wrote this whole thing out. Eventually, I have other stuff I'm going to do with these pieces of content that I've written. It's not like bullet points though. This is a fat list of things, and this is a very large, it's not a script, but it's kind of like a script that I'm looking at here. So, taking your time is a game changer. Obviously, taking your time is very, 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 very important. Because especially as a young guy who might be a little hot-headed, a little strong-willed, who wants to go in and get stuff done, you have to learn how to take your time and how to be okay with the process and how to be someone who is able to see that they don't know everything. And the best way to do that is to take your time and to not rush into things. So, in the past 6 months, I have been off of social media. It was another piece of that being off of the online world, but working online, just not on the social front. I haven't been there. What have I done in that time? I 3x'd my income. I created a new business for myself. I grew this podcast, and I enjoyed life. Like, what else is there to do other than those things? And when you go and you read, I think every young man should read the book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible, because it gives an amazing, like, I don't care where you're coming from, where your background is. You need to go read these words, these wise words of Solomon, because he really knows what he's talking about. And so reflecting on that book of the Bible, I wrote this down and found where I wanted, and even before, I was just reading it though the other day. And I've always loved that book. It's been a very large piece of my life, just in here's the things that we should appreciate and that we should understand as the important parts of life. What is actually important in life? Here are the answers. So that's what I did spend my 6 months on. What I did not spend my time doing over these past 6 months, because I left in October, remember? And I only just posted. I said I'd be back in January. It is March, and I only posted in March. So I didn't spend time scrolling to see what my friends were up to, thinking about the next post I needed to come up with. The content drive, that like, I have to get something out there. I have to do this. I have to do that. I didn't have any of that stuff happening. And so I was able to just actually relax and enjoy my time because my brain was free. I was recording. I didn't spend time recording, editing, or posting small pieces of content to be thrown out into the algorithm just for them to get hopelessly lost. Every podcast recording that I make is stored here on the podcast, on the YouTube channel, and you can go back. The same for my social media, but that's if you go to my actual page, and then there's just a ton of social stuff on there. And it's like lots of small little pieces. Each one of these is a beautifully crafted, condensed episode that you can enjoy and go through one at a time. And it's a full process. It's not just like a clip and a piece of a process. It's the full thing, and you get to enjoy the entire journey of that one episode. And then you get to enjoy the entire journey of the whole podcast, the podcast as a whole. I haven't missed 1 week except for one, and I posted one late. That's it. And so you get to enjoy all of that. And that's what I love doing. And it gives my brain a calmer approach to consuming content and learning instead of just like insane edits on social media, which the sphere is moving away from now. Anyways, let's continue. Taking your time allows you, like I was just saying, mental clarity. Disconnection from the hectic on. Look at this. I love this. I say something because it's like I know it, and then what past me wrote is exactly what me now is saying and adding on to, but it's like the next thing that I wrote down. I think that's fun. Because when you start doing that, it just like proves that you know stuff. Taking your time allows you mental clarity, disconnection from the hectic online world, and reconnection with God. Taking your time creates a space for better decision making, which allows you to create higher leverage decisions, which creates higher return. Take that one in for a second. Back it up a couple seconds and re-listen to that. Like, read that again. We take the time we need so that we so that we can then reapply ourselves to the tasks at hand. We are taking time out of whatever this is to put it into this. I've talked about this a ton before with habit stacking, with habit replacement, those kinds of things. Like, this is all just basic daytime math and time math. You learn this kind of stuff in school. We take the time we need so that we can then reapply ourselves to the task at hand. Sometimes that means working behind the scenes with no posts, no engagement, and no visible growth, because you have to do the internal growth to build. When a seed is planted in the ground, you don't see it growing. Eventually you see a little spring, a little bud, just like this little sapling, this little seedling coming out of the ground. And that's where I felt like my social and online presence has been for the past year. Last year, I really dug into learning how to create content. And so that was a learning curve for me of here's how to create content. Consistently, how to produce a lot of content all at one time, how to make good content, how to make quality cuts and edits, those kinds of things. And that's an ever-evolving process. You only get better at that. But that was what I spent my time doing last year. So I had the podcast, and then I was taking stuff from the podcast and repurposing it. And then I was also learning how to do this stuff that was content creation, consistent content creation. And the reason that's important is because that was a learning curve. It's the same work, but it's just in a place where you can actually see it. The only difference is that this work over here, which is the social media work, you can see because you're following it online. But this work over here, which you don't see at all, is still happening. I'm still putting in the same amount of work. You're just not seeing it in a place where it's visible to you. And so that's what you need to do as someone who wants to learn these things and continue growing. You have to put in the work behind the scenes before you can put in the work on the front end to actually show what you've done behind the scenes, because that's all social media should be and is. And the people who are successful on social media have already done stuff, and now they're taking it and putting it on there. Like, I'm not the first person to say that, but it's true. And it's what I have observed in my own life as well. And so taking that, you can say, oh, well, no pressure to post, because post pressure was something I had a lot of when I was learning how to do that. So social media is not the answer. The answer is behind the scenes work that 3X's the business, creates the new opportunities, and builds a resume that blows people's socks off. Mic drop. There you go. I just said it, and now I'm saying it again. The best thing, in all caps, the best thing I have ever done, the best things I have ever done have been when no one was watching me, when I was getting no external validation outside of the group of people who were in the ring with me. That goes back to my human development days. That goes back to my neurology days, my learning these things like neurodevelopmental studies. No one was doing that with me. I had my stuff on this side of the desk, literally on this desk right now, for those of you that are watching. I had on this side of my desk the school supplies. The middle would have been like music stuff, like my little keyboard. And then the other side was all of these neurodevelopmental books I was reading and all of these sciences and studies that I was learning about. And so I was this high school student putting in work to learn neurodevelopmental sciences to help my little brother. And no one was giving me external validation or credit for that. The validation I got was the people that I got to be inside of rooms with. That was really cool. The validation I got were the people that were in the ring with me and that I was getting to learn from. Just the fact that I was there was validation enough for me. And we need to remember that, because online world is vanity. It's all vanity metrics, right? The book of Proverbs and Ecclesiastes all talk about how vain everything is in life. And so what I was learning from and what was actually captivating me were these things that did truly, genuinely matter, that I was able to learn and grow and build inside of myself that no one else was seeing. And now I'm here talking to you because I've had lots and lots and lots of compound experience through my few years of life that I can bring to you now and say, hey, I don't know everything. I certainly don't know everything. I'm still a young guy, but I have a lot of experience that other people do not have. And I want you to know that I have this experience and that I can share it with you. I want you to have this experience that I have had through me communicating it to you, which you can't have, obviously, because you have your own experience and I have mine, and those are separate things. But my point is that You get to learn these things because of the past experience where no one was watching it or validating it externally. There we go. I've learned more business lessons in the past 6 months than I have over the years that I've been in this game, which is really, really cool. Why is that? Compound experience, hindsight, putting the pieces together. Because now I'm becoming proficient in hard skills and I've gained enough understanding to become efficient. Let me reread that. Now I'm becoming proficient in my hard skills and I've gained enough understanding to become efficient and soon proficient in the soft skills I need to scale and build out. You have to dig deep before you can build up. So I have the proficiency, I am proficient, I am actually excelling and doing great at the things that are the hard skills. How to build the website, how to edit the podcast episode, how to come up with a content schedule and a calendar. Those things I'm really good at. And what develops over a long-term game is these soft skills that all of those hard skills learn and bake into you. You have to learn from those things, and that's a journey that you have to go through. And now I have gone through that, and I am becoming efficient in the things that I need to do inside of myself. Someday, soon, I will be proficient, and that is when I will hit that next stage up. My brain is like grabbing for words right now. There's so many different ways to phrase this. I'm not on a plateau right now, but I am on a mini plateau, right? When we look at it in a small scale, it might look like this. It might look crazy, just up and down. I'm doing this hand motion with my hand, like one of those charts where it goes up and it goes down and it goes up and down. But overall, when you zoom out, it's massive. It's just one big line upwards over time. And sometimes it might have bigger dips in it, and you can actually see those dips zooming out. But the goal is that overall, that line is going steadily up, even if there are plateaus. And that's the whole thing. Like, I won't get into this, but when you learn about business stuff and how to run a business, the entire goal is to grow and to scale as you help people. And by growing and scaling, you do help more people. So you want to have an altruistic reason and foundation, but you also need to bring in an income, and you do want to have profit, and you want to have a successful business. So those are the things where over time you don't want to be plateauing or stalling out or going down in your success, because you actually want to just be increasing, because increase is great. And the things you can do with that increase are great. Again, I believe everything should be based, and we know it's not in this world, but everything should be based on, like, if you're going to do something, do it to help other people. The reason I learned so much this past half year was because I took the time I needed to listen and learn from the people who had real value to offer me, and was able to connect with the dots of all the information I had downloaded into my brain over the past 4 years. There you go. So I took the time to listen to the other people that actually had the value and the things I needed to learn. I took that time and learned from them. I wasn't spending the time scrolling on my phone, like I said. I also wasn't spending the time doing things that I might have wanted to do instead. I've been spending this time doing the things I know need to get done. And now I'm in a phase where, because I am becoming proficient in the hard skills, I'm getting time back, because everything that used to take me 1 hour to do or 2 hours to do is starting to take me 1 hour to do. And so I get more time back to put into other places. And that is where you then stop plateauing and you start growing again. And also having people to hire is very helpful. Like, I'm starting to look at those kinds of things now. And that's really cool to me. That's crazy. Just like your first couple hires. And it's not big, but it is big for someone who's my age, looking at who's the person that I need to hire to help me get these things done. That is really big, because I'm not in college right now. I don't have student debt. You can learn these things just as easily as I can. You just have to apply yourself. You have to make the choice. So the reason I learned so much from this past half a year, I'll reread it, was because I took the time I needed to listen and learn from the people who had real value to offer me. Look for the people, look for the mentors that you actually need, and was able to connect the dots of all the information I had downloaded into my brain over the past 4 years. Hindsight is 2020, right? I came out a different person, because confidence built on competence is next level. That is very, very true. I heard this, I think, from Alex again, but I love this man's content. That guy, he's so good. And he's doing such a similar thing to exactly what I want to do. The difference is just that he has years on me. And so he right now is where I want to be because he's literally just older than me. But it's so cool to me to think about the fact that when you have actual competency, that builds confidence, because now you're saying, look at all these past experiences that I've had, and building on those experiences, you get to say, I have confidence in myself because of the proof that I have in my past and from the things that I have done. It's a beautiful, beautiful feeling. It's great. And so now I'm at the point where I need to start looking at, all right, I'm doing these things. I have these things. This is where I want you to be and where you might already be. And if this is you, then listen up. Because the next step is to ask, what is the next step that I need to take to better the things I'm already doing, or to make sure if I have better the things that I'm already doing, then I'm looking at the next thing that's up on the line. New opportunities are opening up for me every single day. And it's because I choose to show up and make that happen. God is opening doors, but it's my choice on whether or not I step through them. And so as he opens doors, I have to have the bravery and the courage to step through them, just as much as I have to have the willingness and the humility to step through the doors that he's taking me through. Because I can't claim anything for myself in a way that would be, look at what I have done. Because my life is one massive testament to, here's what God has done. And I am just the living proof. I am just an example. Like, it's beautiful. My whole existence is just to glorify God. And so all of these things that I am, who I am, what I have done, I understand that everything is from God, from beginning to end. From the dirt I came from, and to the dirt I will return, just like in Job. I was made by God. And so I owe him everything. And that's an amazing thing, because that gets into all these crazy different pieces. But when you understand this, my point is that it changes how you see yourself, and it changes where you put your focus. Because the whole point of taking your time is to make sure your focuses are in the right place. So a few ways you can do that now. Taking the time that you need can be done simply and practically. If you have an iPhone, and maybe for Androids, I don't know. I just have an iPhone. But if you have an iPhone, offload the social apps that distract you the most. You'll retain the data, but you have the barrier of needing to re-download the app to use it. This worked for me, and maybe it'll work for you. Because it's not that I have like a problem with doing it. It's just if I'm on auto, I'm not addicted to apps or anything. But if I'm just on autopilot, it's been a long day and I'm tired, or, I'm just getting distracted and being squirrel brained for a second, then by going onto my phone, you like auto swipe to your favorite app. You know how I do that. And so I know other people do that too. You don't even have to think about it. Like literally just moving the placement of the app on your home screen can completely break that cycle. And so by offloading it, instead of when you touch it, instead of like, oh, I need to download this, is like, oh wait, it's not downloaded. I need to download this first to be able to use it. And so it just helps break that cycle. But it still keeps all your info, unless you just want to actually delete the app, which is what most people do. But that's a helpful thing. Just offload the app. Create a routine for yourself, number 2, independent of your work schedule. Say, here's my work schedule, but when I get home, what do I want to do? What do I want my focuses to be? A lot of us, all of us have to make sure we're being fed, we're feeding ourselves. We have to make sure that we're washing our laundry, things like that. But look at all of that stuff and place it strategically so that you get the most time out of your day. And so that you're saying, well, even if I'm tired at night, I can still do dishes. But if in the early morning is when my brain works best, or at night when my brain works best, for however this is for you, then you can take that and say, here's where I want to do my thinking work that is extra. Then I have all of my normal work that's paying the bills. And then here is the time I need to spend just doing the simple chores to take care of myself. Those kinds of things. I call this a U-teen, right? Oh, wait, that's the wrong one. This will be your U-teen, quote unquote. You can set this up however you want in the time encompassing whatever it is you do for work that benefits someone else in exchange for a paycheck for you. You're spending a lot of time doing something for someone else that benefits them, and what they give you in return is a paycheck so you can go home and pay for your food. But you want to do something that benefits you as well. Obviously, a paycheck does benefit you because you're living, but you also want to have the ability to do something more. whatever that is. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you don't, and you just want to do the thing you're doing and you're happy with that. If that's you, cool. That's awesome. I know people, that's fine. But if you're like me, more like me, and you're like, I want to do this thing, I have this big vision, I have this big goal that I need to learn how to even go and talk to people about and share with other people, then you should set up a routine so that inside of your normal routine, you know what the routine is so that you can go and actually do those things you want to do. Prioritize, number 3, prioritize reading the Bible and prayer time equally. Read the Bible and make sure that you pray frequently. First thing when you wake up, start your day on the right foot, in step with God, and throughout the day. Make prayer a normal, ongoing conversation you're having with God. Jesus is our King and our Savior, but He also is our brother and friend. So how would you talk to your best friend? Obviously, you're going to be respectful, but, maybe you're going to be funny. Like, if you have a best friend, there's a couple points in here. Let's back this up. First thing, make sure that as much as you're just reading the Bible, you're also talking to God. This is important for me. I need both equally. We all do. And so if I feel that I am only doing one or only doing the other, then I need both, because I can talk to God. He'll talk back to me in His own ways of doing that with me, but also His word is literally His speaking to me. And so I need to go read His word to make sure that I'm hearing fully from Him, and then I'm also talking to Him and in conversation with Him. When you text someone, when you're texting your best friend or having a phone call, you take turns. There's no different with God. And so overall here, just treat God like you would treat anyone else. And hopefully that is respectfully. The Bible tells us how to relate to God. We want to have a fear for His intense magnitude and sheer power. Like, He's the God of the universe. He created everything. He created us, and so we need to have a healthy, genuine respect for Him and a fear for Him in a way. And fear just means, wow, I understand how big and powerful you are. It's a reverency, and it's a beautiful thing. But we also need to have a friendship with Him, and we need to have the way of just having an actual relationship with God. It makes such a big difference in our life when we stop seeing God. And for those of you who are here, this isn't how you see God, or this is how you're trying to not see God anymore. And so you want to have this relationship with God, where it is a friendship. It is a mutual experience. You're both equally invested in part of it. And when you go and read the prophets, because I've been reading through those in a Bible study I'm doing, and it's amazing to see God's relationship with us even when we're not having a good relationship with Him. Go read those, because it's going to give you such a deep insight into how God feels about us and what He thinks of us and what He wants from us. And we can apply the things He's saying to Israel and to the Gentiles, which are most of us. Unless you're Jewish, you're a Gentile. And He talks to both parties, and He's talking to everyone in there. And so you can really go and learn how God sees you through that. So have a day-to-day conversation. Make it an everyday thing. Like, if you have a good friend, you probably text that good friend a lot. Or maybe you just at least text them frequently. But if you have a best friend, or you have your girlfriend, you're going to be talking to them all the time. Because why not? That's so important to you. And so make this equally and most important to you. So by making simple choices in our own minds to see where we can devote time to ourselves and really take our time in decisions and other important areas of life, we can get time back by living in the present moment. There's some science to that I can cover later. But for now, practice being intentional about taking your time. And I will give you a brief kind of overview of that. When you're getting consistently new stimuli, your brain grows and develops, and therefore your perception of time is actually slower and you are more present. That's why we love going to new experiences and vacations and stuff like that, things that are new. Adrenaline junkies are always chasing this. But when you're back in your boring, mundane life, time feels like it's just going, and you don't have a good perception of time even, because it just feels like the same thing day in and day out. And that's boring, and we don't really like that. But when you have new experiences, it's creating new neural pathways in your brain. And what happens in is your brain engages and it becomes aware of what's happening more than just the autopilot default settings, which our brain is naturally inclined to do and to find. It wants to take the easiest path to keep us in a state of happiness and survival, but we also need to thrive. And so at a default, we are in a survival mode, and it's our job to go into a thrive mode and actually be present and be engaged. Because when you do that, suddenly, everyone loves meditation for this reason. But it's not that meditation actually helps or does anything. It's just that you're doing this. You are just slowing your brain down, which is good. You're slowing your brain down and you're saying, I want to be present in this moment. How can I best be present? And it gives you time to just think and ponder and reflect. So take those things and do those because they will be helpful for you. And ultimately, take your time because there is nothing wrong with taking your time. I've never regretted taking my time on something. I've only ever regretted rushing into things or getting things over with or making a decision because I felt hastened to it and rushed by it. You can always just explain if it's external pressure, hey, I really had to take my time to think about this to make the best decision. And people will respect you for that. And if they don't, then you know that they're not respectful of you and you just need to let that one go. You need to not be a part of that anymore or really work to rectify that. However that goes. But my point is that if someone's not respecting you taking your time, then you have a problem or that person has a problem. So this pop filter keeps falling down. There we go. So take your time. Yeah, go. Take your time. And I will see you in the next episode. Think about these things. And peace out. Do you guys remember when I was really bad at intros and outros, or specifically outros? Like I'd get into an episode, I'd be like, today I want to talk about, and I kind of do that still, but it'd be like, today I want to talk about whatever it is. And then I'd say my piece and it would be really great and it'd be flowing and everything would be nice. And then I'd end the episode and I'd be like, how do I want to end this episode? Like, I don't know. There's a level of formality to it that I don't always enjoy. So I want to bring more of like myself and just like a calmness into all of these recordings that I'm actually doing, because that just is so much nicer to me than like, oh, this is so professionally and put together. It is because I know how to do that. But, I want to be myself. So anyways, enjoy that. Peace out. I'll see you guys next week. Right here, right now, same place.